Morning, I'm down with boat builder Alistair Duffin, and where has he got his yard? And this is something special. You just don't expect to see this and find this. This is another hidden Belfast gem. And where am I? Well, I'm just off CS Square, off the lower. Is this the lower Newtonards Road? Sort of in between.
Between the lower and the upper.
Junction. So I'm on just off the Newtonards Road, and I'm at CS Square, just off it, and I'm with boat builder extraordinaire Alistair Duffin. Alistair, how long have you been involved in boat building?
I'm third generation. The
Right.
firm goes back, I think, about 90 years.
Right.
But we were originally a boat house builder. My father had a love for boats, so he started doing it 70 years ago.
Right.
I served my time, came in, started to work mostly on the extensions, but then I started on the boats.
Right.
And then my father retired, and I had to make up my mind whether I was going to go boats or building. And
Right.
I decided to stay with the boats because building was a bit of a rat race.
And has your boat building yard always been on this premises?
Yeah, well, our premises used to run from here down to the bridge, the culvert, whenever they had the bridge over the Connswater.
Yeah.
And our yard was the whole length.
Right.
And then I can just remember them culverting it and cut it in two.
Right.
We were in the bottom half,
Right.
and Thompson's the butchers used this part putting their vans in, but it was just a big open yard then.
Right. Right. So you swapped over to this side.
About, I suppose it must be 45 years ago.
But this is extraordinary because we've got you must be the last remaining boat builder in the whole of Belfast. There might be one or two
I would
further.
say I'm about the only one that's doing what I'm doing, I would say probably in Ireland.
So what is unique about what you're doing there?
I make wooden boats. Very few wooden boats are made now.
Right.
Most of the modern classes are now sort of fiberglass, whereas I built all the dinghy classes that have been sailed over here.
And why would people want a wooden boat rather than one of these fancy modern ones?
You quite often find a boat that has been designed for wood is better in wood. And as long the boats that I make, you can make out. They're made in fiberglass too.
Right.
But mine are as competitive. My boats have won, I would say, probably about 9 world championships in several different classes. And
sort of sailing classes.
Sailing classes. Yeah.
Right. See, I know nothing about boats or anything, you know.
I mean, I've sold boats to the States.
To the States?
To Australia, to Africa, to Sri Lanka, and of course Ireland and England.
And tell us about how people abroad get to hear about you. Tell us, you have a website, yeah?
No, not really. I have an email, but the classes that I build, people know. You advertise in the particular magazines of the classes that you're doing.
Right. So any good boat builder or anybody that's really into their boats will have maybe come across you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And you know, I'm looking around here and I'm saying to myself, well, have you anybody an apprentice or?
No. I have been asked several times, but if I employ somebody, I come under the Factories Act.
So you're talking about money here?
We're talking about money.
But that is so sad because the skills and knowledge that you have between,
it's going to disappear.
It's going to die.
Yeah, it'll disappear whenever.
And there's no provision made by government whatsoever to keep this traditional old industry alive. And yet there's a demand.
Yeah, there's enough to keep me occupied. I mean, I do also, I repair boats as well. I don't do any fiberglass. I do woodwork and bigger boats. But yeah, there's enough to keep me going.
Tell us about what you did with the Harry Ferguson plane, the famous Harry Ferguson plane that took off what must have been in the mid 1900s.
Yeah, I did all the woodwork. I built the fuselage, the wings, and the tail.
For the reconstruction.
Yeah.
That is now sitting in the Ulster Aviation Society's big hangar.
Yeah.
And that plane was it built by Queen's University or I'm not too sure.
Which one?
The replica.
No, I built.
Aye, but the engine and stuff like that.
Oh well, no, the engine. They were at one stage going to try to get an original engine.
Right.
But there was only one left in England that was still, and it was in a racing car.
Right.
He wouldn't allow it out.
He wouldn't.
I think the pilot was probably just quite glad. So the pilot then, I can't remember his name now.
Ah, don't worry.
He got a microlight engine.
Right.
And put a microlight engine into it.
Right, okay.
Flew it with a microlight
Right.
engine.
So it was as near to the Harry Ferguson original as could be.
Yeah, other than the engine, obviously.
And it flew.
The rest was basically, they went down and took drawings off the one that's in the Folk Museum.
Yes.
And they took drawings and all the measurements off
Yes,
that,
yes.
and then they reproduced from that.
Yeah, yeah.
The one they
Brilliant.
had. And it was as close. Okay, some of the timbers were different.
Right, right.
I mean, the wing, some of the bits of the wings were made out of plywood where they wouldn't have had plywood.
I know.
You know,
Well, you know.
they were built as close as they could.
As close as they could. And what is the boat at the back of the shed? Is that your latest project, or is this one over?
That's an old boat. That's a Dublin Bay boat. It's what they call IDRA.
Right.
And it's an old clinker built boat. It must be about 70 years old.
And it's an old what are bell
It's
boat?
an IDRA.
And you said it was an old.
It's a Dublin Bay boat.
You said it's an old Tinkerbell boat.
Yeah, it's a clinker built.
Clinkerbell.
That's the way boats were built originally.
Right, right.
Um,
And so, what's your latest project?
Well, I'm redecking that one, and then once I get that done, I'm going to set up another GP14 here,
Right.
which is the ones I would build mostly on.
You mostly build what?
GP14s.
GP14. This is all double Dutch to me,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, it's an old class too. It's been going for about 60 years.
Right, right.
So it would still be one of the biggest classes in Ireland.
Right.
It's still a very popular class in England.
Right, and most of the boats that you would be building would they be used by yachtsmen,
Yeah,
racing yachtsmen.
the boats that I build are only used for racing.
Right,
I very
right.
seldom ever build a boat for pleasure sailing.
Right, okay, right. And, right, from start to finish, time.
For me to get a boat built from going on to that jig to being ready to paint takes about 8 days.
Right,
And painting takes longer because the paint takes longer to dry.
Right.
So you could be talking another month on top of that.
right. So you can, you can complete a boat in 2 months.
Yeah. Huh.
And that means, without killing yourself, you could produce 5 boats a year.
I used to produce 25 boats. Plus repairs.
Plus repairs on your own.
I wouldn't want to go back to that.
No, you wore a younger man's clothes.
I was younger in those days.
Yes.
I only work 3 days at the moment.
Right, okay.
I cut down to 3 days with culvert.
Right.
I haven't got back to work.
Right.
Yet. And I don't know if I will.
I know. And are you having difficulty at present sourcing timber?
A wee bit.
Yeah.
The plywood has to all come from England.
Right.
Since Brexit, I haven't tried to get any plywood, so I don't know
What the situation's going to be, but that could be a
That could be
problem.
Yeah.
Listen,
all the ply was not made in England.
Right.
It comes from somewhere like France.
Listen, I have just wandered through these doors, and Alistair has been so good in entertaining me here. This is marvellous. So, can I say on the channel, can I say, if anyone is interested in, putting in an order, not that Alistair particularly wants them to do that, but if they talk to him nicely, and if they sort of wave bundles of cash in front of him, he might just be persuaded to
might be.
fit you in, time allowing. And listen, many thanks, Alistair. This is just amazing to come across somebody who's building in the old wooden ways in the heart of Belfast. This is just extraordinary. Thank you very much.
Okay.